Speak on the show, episode 2021, episode 18, Memorial Day weekend, Un-OATH-ical, disrespect, and the mind, body, and soul segment. It's Memorial Day weekend, baby. Y'all ready? Let's go. Good morning. Welcome to Speak on. I am your boy, R.W. Coolins. First and foremost, giving honor to God who allows me to come at you in this manner on a weekly basis. Tongue-tied already this morning. Good morning. Memorial Day weekend, y'all. Memorial Day weekend. And let's go ahead and get these formalities out the way, and then we can go and get into this show. Let's do this. rwcoolins.com. That's across all social. That's the website. You can also search me on all social media platforms, R.W. Coolins. I'm on all of them right now. We're broadcasting live on Facebook and YouTube. And you can also go back and download the audio through Spreaker.com and Apple iTunes. So feel free to go back and listen after the show. I'm trying to adjust these volumes, y'all. Excuse me. Go back and listen after the show with the audio, Spreaker.com, Apple iTunes, also on YouTube and Facebook. R.W. Coolins is where you can find me. Call in number 844-904-2665. That's 844-904-2665. No matter what the situation is, let your voice be heard. Say what you mean what you say. We come in as friends, we leave as friends. I give you information. You know, we agree to disagree. We'll have discussions, but at the same time, you know, we do this respectfully here on the Speak on the Show. Memorial Day weekend, y'all. It's Memorial Day weekend, and Memorial Day weekend kicks off a lot of things. They say it's the beginning of summer. It's the 101 critical days of summer, where if anybody is, knows what those are, that's when they're talking about safety. A lot of things, people going swimming, people on motorcycles, kids on bikes, all the different things you can think of. The 101 critical days of summer are between Memorial Day weekend and Labor Day weekend. So enjoy, get out there, enjoy the weather. I know on the East Coast, they're having a lot of rain, storms, different things like that, but enjoy. Also, in these 101 critical days of summer, please be aware that we are still in the midst of a pandemic. The vaccines are out. Some people are getting them, some people aren't. We still need to be vigilant and do our due diligence in what's going on with this. Good morning, sis. Good morning. Appreciate the support. Good morning. Appreciate the support. We need to make sure we're doing our due diligence, making sure we're protecting each other as well. There's mandates out there where you don't have to wear your masks. If you're fully vaccinated, some people aren't wearing them because, we got this thing going on where, you don't need to tell people if you got vaccinated, and they shouldn't be asking you. That's what it comes down to. And speaking of which, I'm going to say that for later on. Let me get into that later on. So Memorial Day weekend. I hate to have to do that. Well, I'm not going to say I hate. I feel the need to do this every Memorial Day weekend just so people understand. Good morning, Michelle Long. Appreciate the support. Just so people understand what the difference is between Memorial Day weekend and Veterans Day. Memorial Day weekend it's observed on the last Monday of May. It was formerly known as Decoration Day and commemorates all men and women who have died in military service, not those who have served, but those who have died while serving. Let's get that clear. And I know a lot of people get tired of him, but I think it's something we need to put out there because there's some people that don't know, some people that don't care, what the difference is. And the worst thing you can do on Memorial Day is thank a veteran for his service. The worst thing you can do on Memorial Day is thank a veteran for his service. Save it up. Save it for Veterans Day, not Memorial Day. Memorial Day is for us to observe those who have given the ultimate sacrifice to the country while defending the country. There's a difference. There's a difference. We need to pay attention to the difference of what those days are recognized for. All right. Also today, in a historical note, Black historical note, should be American historical note, but in a Black historical note, this weekend was the weekend in 1921, 100 years ago today, that we had the Tulsa Race Massacre. This is where Tulsa was the place to locate in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where we had Black Wall Street is what it was called. And race riots broke out and it wiped it out. It's not talked about too much, but this is the 100-year anniversary. And it really made me think about it because I'm, like I said, everybody knows I just turned a double nickel 55. So, right before, not long before I was born, these things, not that I'm that old, but these things were still going on in the United States of America. And the basis of what happened is that normal, everyday reason that we always hear that causes us to take pause. And the reason it happened is this. On May 30th, 1921, a young Black teenager named Dick Rowland, who was 19 years old, entered an elevator at the Drexel Building, which is an office building on the South Main Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma. At some point after that, the young white elevator operator, 17-year-old Sarah Page, screamed. And then it was a trickle down from that. Because when she screamed, Rowland ran. It came out supposedly, allegedly, that Rowland, Mr. Dick Rowland, had abused or sexually assaulted this 17-year-old white elevator operator, Sarah Page. And from that, it just ballooned from that. White men were deputized, made police officers and everything, and they went through and they basically, in a nutshell, burnt Black Wall Street down to the ground. To this day, they still don't know how many people were killed, the true number of how many people were killed. And this was only 100 years ago. And I say only because we have to think about the history of this country and what goes on in this country and the things that we see today. And you have to look at our past in order to know what's going on now and how it influences both, how they play along with both. Because you had these things going on then where people were taking the word of someone just because of what they look like over the facts of the person that's being accused because of what they look like. Still happens today. As I talked about last week about these exoneration, people being exonerated after 20, 30, 40 years of serving time. But you hardly, just say rarely, see white men, white women being exonerated after 20, 30, 40 years of serving time. But we're not going to go back down that road. But the Black Wall Street, the Tulsa Race Massacre, 100-year, and I don't think we should call it an anniversary, but the 100-year acknowledgement of this is over this Memorial Day weekend as well. So keep those people who were affected, those families that were affected 100 years ago, in your prayers. Keep them in your mind, because this was something that was senselessly done over an accusation that to this day we don't even know if it was true. But there was many people who lost their lives over the senseless killings of people who were upset because of what they thought happened, not the factuals of what actually did happen. Memorial Day weekend. Enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. Go out there, celebrate. And as I said, don't forget, the pandemic is not gone. We just got a vaccine to try to prevent it. Don't put yourself in jeopardy, and don't put others in jeopardy as well. Gatherings, I know they're opening everything up and everything, but you still need to be aware. That's just my little take on that. Let's go on and get into this. Let's get into this. Un-OATH-ical. Un-OATH-ical. And I'm going to break this down, and I've said this a couple times before, but I think it needs to be read again before I get into why I want to call this Un-OATH-ical. Here we go. When you join the military, you take an oath of enlistment. And I'm not going to read the whole thing. Again, I do solemnly swear to uphold, defend the Constitution. Well, let me read that part, because it's dual-headed in the oath of what a lot of people take in as far as going to be senators, congressmen, military service members, the president, these first couple lines are consistent throughout. It changes on the back end. So let me give you this here. The oath of enlistment and the oath of senators, congressmen, all this is what is the same throughout. I, state your name, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. Consistent. No matter what you're swearing, your oath is consistent. This is where it changes. Now, on the oath of enlistment, it says, and that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over me, according to the regulations of the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So help me God. UCMJ is what they hold us accountable to. It's like the bylaws, the laws, rules, regulations. That's what the UCMJ is. So you're held accountable to that if you're an enlisted person. The officer's oath of enlistment is a little different, but I didn't want to get into that because there's a particular reason why I'm reading this morning. Let's go to the oath of the senators. Now, you heard what the main parts of it is in the beginning, but then theirs breaks down a little bit differently. And it says that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. I want you to remember that word evasion. And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I am about to enter. So help me God. Now, that's the oath of office for the senators. There are 100 senators, 100 senator seats. I'm going to say it's 100. Yes, 100 in the Senate. And yesterday, there's a reason I read that. Yesterday, there was a vote. There was a vote to put together a commission to investigate, independent commission to investigate what happened on January 6th. The insurrection, not the riot. Let me clear this up. Not the riot, but the insurrection at the Capitol on January 6th, which was, as they say, flame stoked and pushed forward by the commander-in-chief at the time, Donald Trump. Now, on yesterday, I sound like a pastor. On yesterday, Senate Republicans on Friday blocked moving forward with a bill to create a commission to investigate the insurrection at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. With 35 conservative members voting against it, just 6 Republican senators broke ranks with the party to support advancing the January 6th commission. Then there were 11 senators who didn't even show up to vote. Let's talk about them for a minute. There were 9 Republicans and 2 Democrats who did not show up for this vote. 9 Republicans, 2 Democrats did not show up to do their job. Let me go back to that quote, that oath again. What did it say? Or purpose of evasion. So technically you're evading what you're put up there to do, your job as a senator. But they didn't show up. 11 people did not show up. And I'm going to give you the states and the names of these people. I know this is going to be long. Excuse me. There's 11 of them. But I think people need to know, if you're in that state, and you go back and listen to this later on and you're in that state, you need to pay attention to what these people choose to be a part of and what they choose to run from. No shows. Marsha Blackburn, Tennessee. Roy Blunt, Missouri. Mike Braun, Indiana. Richard Byrd, North Carolina. Jim Inhofe, Oklahoma. Mike Round, South Dakota. James Risch, Idaho. Richard Shelby, Alabama. Pat Toomey, Pennsylvania. Now, Pat Toomey's people came out and said that he had an excuse. He had a prior engagement. Wait a minute. Wait. Time out now. What's more important, your prior engagement or to find out what happened at the Capitol on January 6th? It's just me, man. Now, I'm trying to tell people what to do. But your oath of office put you in that realm of this is what you're supposed to be doing. And whatever you had scheduled to do can be put off because the people who put you in there expect you to look out for their best interests. That's the way it's always been said to me. Melvin Jackson, good morning. Appreciate your support, bro. That's the way it's always been explained to me. That's why I came up with this un-oath-ical, because they have shown un-oath-ical, not unethical, un-oath-ical practice by not showing up to do their job. And the ones that showed up chose not to do their job. Now, the Democrats, there was a Patty Murray from Washington and a Kristen Sinema from Arizona. No shows. No call, no show. That's what I say at work. No call, no show. You didn't call in. You're supposed to be here. They didn't show up. And then they came out with statements. Some of them did. Out of those 11, who said that if they had voted, they would have voted yes. They need the commission. But you can't do it after the fact, after the vote has already fell through. Now, you needed 60 votes total. This is when they get into the filibuster. I'm not going to get into the filibuster because I don't know too much about it. I'm still trying to decipher that. But you need 60 votes, the majority, in order to pass this commission. They had, what was it? It wasn't enough. Let's just go there. It wasn't enough. What was it, about 40, 54? 54 maybe? I think they fell short. But in the House, it was 252 to 175 for them to do the commission. That's why they sent it over to, the Senate. But it fell short, y'all. It fell short. And it says more about not the actions that happened on that day, but it says more about what we choose or what they choose as political position people to investigate and not investigate in the interest of themselves more than the interest of what they call and what we call democracy. You had all these people storm the Capitol, an insurrection on our democracy, on the Capitol building of the United States of America, where, mind you, as I said before, on the grounds where the president of the United States was giving a speech earlier in that day, where they had a noose erected down on the other end of the Washington Mall. Nobody found a problem with that. But I digress. Let me get back. But they had this insurrection on the Capitol where all these people stormed the Capitol, injured people, people killed, looking for certain senators and congressmen to do them bodily harm. There's undertones that some of the senators and on the Republican side, some of the senators and some of the House members were giving tours the day before to try to give them the layout of the land with the Capitol. I don't know if that's true, but that's what this investigation was supposed to be about. Finding out what the root cause was of the insurrection. Who caused it? What happened? Who helped? All those things. But we'll never find out unless somebody independently decides to do it. We'll never find out because the Republican senators chose not to move it forward. So the question you would ask yourself is, why? Why would they want to debunk this? Why would they want to stop it? Why do they not want an investigation done on something to that extent to find out what truly happened? We've had 2 impeachment trials on President Donald Trump. The Senate acquitted him in both cases. Let me do one more time. But they don't want to do this. Now, the commission would have been consisting of 10-person committee. 5 commissioners would have been appointed by the Democrats. 5 would have been appointed by the Republicans. So it was an even split on who was going to be on that. And these were all the things that they kept going back and forth about, to try to come to some, as they say, bipartisanship for them to have equal playing ground. So it doesn't seem like it's, just one side or the Democrats just wanted it or the Republicans. They were trying to do it so it's a mix of both. And they still shot it down after all the negotiations they went through. When you think about this insurrection and what happened at the Capitol that day, January 6th, we are at a standstill as far as what information we will ever find out from what happened that day. But in my research, I pulled up, and its length is identified as length of congressional investigations, which this is what this would be: a congressional investigation committee to investigate the insurrection on January 6th. But this is not new. This is something that goes on whenever we have things like the insurrection happen. But let me name some other ones, and it'll tell you how long these investigations went on. Pearl Harbor, the investigation, the committee, what they wanted to find out was a 9 months and 15 days. It took 9 months and 15 days for the committee to come up with a conclusion with all the evidence they collected to say what happened and what went wrong for Pearl Harbor. 9 months, 15 days. The John F. Kennedy assassination, 9 months, 27 days. The investigation around the assassination of John F. Kennedy, 9 months, 27 days. Watergate, 16 months, 21 days. Why did they do an investigation for Watergate? Because the president of the United States, Richard Nixon, was involved at the time. So they wanted to find out what was going on. What happened? Who was doing what? People were held accountable. Took them 16 months, 21 days to finish the full investigation. September 11th, 9/11, as they like to call it, 19 months, 25 days. 19 months, 25 days. Benghazi. Everybody remembers Benghazi. You heard it in the news. If you don't know about it, you've heard about it. Benghazi, 28 months. They investigated Benghazi for 28 months. 28 months. Come on, OT. Appreciate the support, bro. 28 months they did an investigation about Benghazi. Then, mind you, Benghazi was not on American soil, but it involved Americans overseas in Benghazi who were attacked, killed, and then the investigation was more around the fact of what part Hillary Clinton played in this happening, more than what actually happened. 28 days. Now, when you look at this and you ask your question of insurrection on the Capitol, investigation, root cause of why it happened, who was in charge, who did what, when, where, and why, the 5 W's. It raises the alarm, the BS alarm, let's just be honest, about why we're not investigating this. Because if we can do all these investigations about Pearl Harbor, the attack on Pearl Harbor that kicked off the war, right? If we can do an investigation about who assassinated John F. Kennedy at the time, what happened, who was behind it, Watergate, September 11th, Benghazi. Now, I'm going to break these down real quick. Benghazi, September 11th, Pearl Harbor were attacks on us as Americans by people that weren't Americans, that aren't Americans, people who don't identify as Americans. But, good morning, Gary Burns, appreciate your support. But we investigated it. Why? Because we want to know what country played a part in the demise when Pearl Harbor happened, when September 11th happened, when Benghazi happened. We need to investigate this. We need to find out what is going on with this. Good morning, Brian Hoodie. Appreciate the support. We did investigations, Benghazi, 28 months, all geared around not what happened, but who was in charge over top of the Benghazi incident. Hillary Clinton. 28 months this drug on. She was not found accountable for it at all. There was shortfalls here and there, but she was not held fully accountable, which everyone took into account when it came time for her running for president. I'm not going to get into that because I think there's a lot of things that people took as residual outcomes in their mind is why she is portrayed the way she is. Let's just be honest. But on this insurrection, we can't get the people in charge, per se, to do an investigation on the place that they go to every day for work, the place where they sit and write laws and bills and legislation for us. You had homegrown terrorists attack the Capitol, and there's no investigation. Now, I'm not the brightest light bulb in the socket, but like I tell you, I do flicker every once in a while. You know, like that fluorescent light. You take a little bit to get on. In my mind, from what I've read, from what I've seen, the water's muddy. The water's muddy, and there's people that were involved in this insurrection that happened, that had a part and played a part in it, that sit in those seats that we've elected people to. Now, people can call that slander if you want, call it what you want. I'm telling you what I know to be true from what I've read, what I've seen, and what I've listened to, and the actions that are being done to not get this investigation going. It all comes down to covering. They're covering themselves so they won't be held accountable. That's what it comes down to. Gary Burns, the Republicans already have the answer. Yeah, they have the answer because they are the ones that did it. My brother, exactly. I know my voice went up an octave. Let me break back that. But you're correct. The answers are already there. They just don't want you to know the answers that they already know. They don't want you to know that some of them that are voting against this, what they call it, committee to investigate this, were involved in the leading up to what happened. They don't want you to know that this was planned from November until January when it happened. They don't want you to know that their hands are dirty, that they have blood on their hands. That's why they're so quiet about it. They're more concerned about losing the voters from the last president and holding on to that block of voters than they are doing for the masses of the people and the justices that need to be done and the justice that needs to be served. All those people, and I'm going to say this, all those people who chose to storm the Capitol that day, that are being held accountable in the court systems and everything like that, sacrificial lambs for the true proponents of what and who put the idea in to get this done, the insurrection, to cause it. All those people being held accountable, all those people in jail, all those people asking to be able to go to the father's funerals and all this kind of stuff you see in the news, and the judge is telling them, no, you're not leaving here. All those people who are being held accountable for what they did are sacrificial lambs for the ones that don't want this investigation to be done so they can be held accountable for what their actions were. It's that simple. Now, I don't care if you're Democrat. I don't care if you're Republican. I don't care if you're independent. All I care is that you look at the big picture to understand that our democracy is not working. The people you voted into office are not working for you. We have to wake up because they're getting rich off of our ignorance. Let me say that again. They're getting rich off of our ignorance. There's no accountability for what they do. And I read those oath of enlistments for a reason. They're not even holding themselves accountable to what oath they took before they went into that office. But I can tell you, while I was in the military and I served my time, and other military members can tell you that we were held accountable to the standards that we put up, that we said that oath under. In most cases. Some fall through the cracks, but it happens. It's a shame. It's a shame. Tim Jordan, good morning. Good morning, sir. Appreciate your support. It's a shame that we have no belief in our processes at this point. We have no belief in the normal everyday workings of what our democracy is supposed to be about. We have no faith in the people who sit in those positions the last administration put the cap on people doubting anything and everything that you see with your own eyes. Don't believe that. You might be looking right at it. Don't know. That's not what happened. That's not what happened. Alternative facts, as they say. But we continue to vote these same people in over and over and over again. But I'm not going to keep riding that. You all know where the situation is. You know where you stand. You know what you need to do. We've been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and led astray. Cut and dry. These people are not elected into office for your best interest. They're not. Let's transition. Let's get off this political thing. Let's move on to something else. Disrespect. Disrespect. Now, I don't know how many of you are sports fans that listen. Most of you probably are. Or if you're not a sports fan, you know what disrespect is. Let's just be honest. Disrespect is identified by whoever is being disrespected. That's why you hear people most of the time say, no disrespect. Because that's a caveat to say, I'm about to disrespect you, but I don't mean for you to take it that I'm disrespecting you. You see where I went there, right? No disrespect. Here we go. So the other day, Russell Westbrook plays for the Washington Wizards. Sprained his ankle during the game, hobbling off the court, and he's walking through the tunnel that you go through, and a fan upstairs decided he wanted to dump popcorn on him. They were in Philadelphia. He dumped popcorn down on Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook was incensed. Not only because the popcorn, but he was already upset because he had twisted his ankle, and now he's not available to play at that time to finish out the game. They dumped popcorn down on him. He was pissed. He was trying to get away. The guards held him back and everything. Good thing they didn't let him go. Somebody probably would have got hurt, and probably the wrong person, because cowards usually run. Let's just be honest. But then another incident happened in Madison Square Garden between the Atlanta Hawks and the New York Knicks. Trae Young, Atlanta Hawks guard, taking the ball out of bounds. Fan, second row up. 50 Cent, he's sitting here. His girlfriend, Cuban Link, here. A couple other people, but this guy was like right above them. Trae Young standing right in front of them. He's about to get the ball from the referee, and the fan spit on him. Trae Young didn't know. He kind of shook it off because he felt something cool, I guess, or felt something different hitting his back. Report came out, this man spit on him. When did we, as a society, let's just go as a society, because these are two extreme incidents, other than if you look back, the Malice at the Palace, when Ron Artest and a couple other Pacers players went into the stands up in Detroit and beat them down. Beat them down. It was a big riot. That was a riot. The Capitol was an insurrection. But anyway, I digress. So to throw popcorn on somebody and to spit, to take the time in a packed arena to spit on an athlete who has done nothing to you, spitting on someone is the lowest grade of anything you can do, in my opinion. But these athletes are subjected to things. You know, we always tell these athletes that they're put up on a pedestal, because most fans put their team, the athletes that play for their teams, on this pedestal because they are so entrenched in their team that they love their players that much. But then fans go awry, and Trae Young made a statement and said he's not going to press any charges or whatever. Couldn't be me. As somebody mentioned, we're in the middle of a pandemic. The pandemic's not over, and this man spit on an athlete who he doesn't know whether the guy's vaccinated, all the different things we hear about the pandemic, and you just spit freely on someone. Now, I want to break it down to the visuals of this. Some people will agree, some people won't. Your choice. The visuals of this is White men, a white man dumped popcorn on a black athlete. A white man spit on a black athlete. In an arena full of people where 9 times out of 10 consequences wouldn't have been held accountable. He wouldn't have been held accountable for his actions. But the level that they're at now with the playoffs going on, national TV audience, all these things, accountability has to come into play. But my question comes in, and somebody can chime in with this, is when did we get to the point where this is acceptable? When did we get to the point where we see this and think nothing of it? When did people get comfortable enough to pay for a ticket to go to see an athletic event and think they can treat those participating any way they want? Because if you look at who's on the basketball court, majority black men. But this fan felt comfortable enough, let me say that again, comfortable enough to spit on $1 million a year being paid to play basketball young man, but he's a man before he's a basketball player. Let's go there. But this organization is paying him millions of dollars to go out there and produce on their basketball court. And you have someone who's a fan of the opposite team who is also getting paid millions of dollars to produce out on the court and felt freely to spit on him. Now, I'm not downplaying the popcorn incident because it was popcorn this time. What is it next time? It was spit this time. What is it next time? Disrespect. And then we hear the incident that started off the Tulsa race massacre where someone accused someone of something that they didn't do and the whole damn city was burnt down. But you feel comfortable enough to spit on someone. What does that come from? What does that say? What kind of message have we put out into the atmosphere where someone feels that comfortable to spit on someone, anyone? And I said this yesterday in a conversation that I was having with somebody. Dogs, cats, pets as a whole are given more respect than black folks. I said it. People who have pets show more respect to an animal that has bitten them, defecated on the carpet, pissed on their carpet, bit the children, so on and so forth. You see where I'm going? They cuddle them, they hug them, they love them, they do whatever they got to take them to the vet, pay them thousands of dollars to keep them healthy. And I ain't saying nothing against no pet lovers out there. You do what you do. But when you take into account a pet's life is more important than a person that's walking the face of this earth's life, so you got an issue. When you look down on somebody because of the color of their skin more than you do when you look at that dog or that animal, and you have more love in your heart for that animal than you do a normal, everyday human being, you have an issue. And then you have some people out here who have animals that are blacker than the people that they can't stand. I said it. They are black. They got black dogs, black cats, black, whatever, deep, dark black. But they love that animal more than they love the breathing human being who may work with them, who may be their neighbor. I didn't want to go there today. Facts are facts. Facts are facts. Disrespect. Good morning, Chinita. Great topic. Appreciate the support. Appreciate the support. Thanks for tuning in. Facts are facts. But you get mad When an athlete decides to take his future into his own hands and go from one team to another because he's not playing for your team anymore, but then the disrespect that you show while he's there, why would I stay? A lot of people still have a problem with LeBron James going back to Cleveland after the owner talked so bad about him, took out a full-page article about him. But LeBron James, in his retort, said, hey, I'm not doing this for him. I'm doing it for the people of Akron, the people of Cleveland, where I'm from. That's why I'm coming back. I want to bring them a championship. And he did that. He got the hell out of town. It is what it is. But we need to stop looking at these athletes as just athletes. They're human beings that deserve respect. And that transitions my way into the new internet sensation, Kwame Brown. Kwame Brown. For y'all that don't know, that may not know, or you've seen him online and everything and wondering what the big thing about, Kwame Brown was had a 13-year NBA career. He made over $63 million during his career. He was the #1 pick in 2001 draft by the Washington Wizards. Michael Jordan was in charge. I want y'all to remember this. Michael Jordan was in the front office when they drafted the #1. Kwame Brown stood 6'11", 270 pounds, 17 years old, coming straight out of high school, going to the Washington Wizards, going to the NBA. He played 607 games. He averaged 6.6 points, 5.5 rebounds, and 0.9 assists. Kwame Brown, throughout his career, because of where he was drafted, because of how he played, how many different teams he played on or whatever, he was considered and called by many in the media. He was called a bust. He was called a bust because he was the #1 pick, and they said he did not live up to his potential that they drafted him for. The key word in there is potential. When you draft a 17-year-old kid straight out of high school, is not proven that you drafted him off of what he did in high school, and he has the potential to be great. Doesn't mean he will be. But they beat this man down for all these years and years and years while he was in the league, said he was a scrub. And, Stephen A. Smith got on him all these years. There's tape of him doing what he does because everyone knows what Stephen A. Smith does. But this was the narrative around Kwame Brown for years and years and years. And at the time, no one ever heard Kwame Brown speak back. No one ever heard Kwame Brown stand up for himself. Nobody ever heard a peep out of Kwame Brown. Some people said they didn't know Kwame Brown could talk until now. That's how quiet he was. But he was called a bust. He was called a scrub. He was called all these different names, but he was on 7 different NBA teams. Now I'm going to break this down to you, and then I'm going to get into something. An NBA roster consists of 15 players. They can carry 20 in the offseason, and they can carry 2 two-way players on a roster. So if you can only have 15 players, that means in a year, there's 450 players in the NBA. 450 out of the millions of people in the United States of America, there's only 450 people in the NBA. The average career for an NBA player is 4.5 years. Kwame Brown lasted 13. Average career earnings for an NBA player, 24.7 million. Kwame Brown made over 63 million. An NFL player makes on the average 6.1 million. Major League Baseball player makes about 17.9, and the NHL player makes 13.6. Average career earnings, that's what the numbers are. Kwame Brown made 63 million. He lasted 13 years. He beat the odds as being #1 pick, but they still called him a bust. The minimum NBA salary is $925K, $925,000 for probably the last person down on the other end of the bench. They probably don't see no time. Now, I say that to say this. Disrespect of what someone does, who someone is, what they stand for, and who they are as a person. We got to do better. Athletes are human beings first and foremost. They have families, they have children. And when you continue to call these people busts or want to spit on them or throw popcorn at them and do all these things you want to do because they're an athlete, trust and believe they have family members that see the disrespect that you have towards their family member. So if someone comes up and slaps the dog out of you because you disrespected their family member because he can't do it, take the blow. You just got to take it. But Kwame Brown has come out over the last 2-3 weeks, and he's been tearing them up. Because on the All the Smoke podcast with Stephen Jackson and Matt Barnes, they talked about Kwame Brown because they were talking to Jeannie Buss, who was the owner of the Lakers. And she mentioned that they did a trade at one time, and they traded Paul Gasol. They got Paul Gasol from Memphis, I think, at the time. Kwame Brown and a whole bunch of other people got traded to Memphis. And in that draft, Kwame Brown, Stephen Jackson and Matt Barnes were joking around, and one of them said to Jeannie Buss, there was only one person in that draft. In that trade. Basically trying to say that Kwame Brown wasn't even a thought. So that's what sparked Kwame Brown to come out and start throwing flamethrower. He came up with his flamethrower. Now, I don't appreciate the fact that they got into the point of being personal about things. But the bottom line, you've disrespected this man for his whole career, and now you're still talking about him after his career. He has a right to speak up. I don't agree with everything he said, but he's dropping gems. And the thing about it is this: you can't expect someone that you disrespected for all those years not to finally come out and say something to you. To you. And he brought it up in the fact that these are his own people. These are supposed to be the fraternity of NBA players disrespecting him even after he's not playing anymore. But one thing that I would raise up, because I'm gonna leave this alone right here, but one thing I would raise up to Matt Barnes and Stephen Jackson when they talk about Kwame Brown, and people that play basketball, follow sports, can understand this. Kwame Brown may have been a number one draft pick that didn't pan out to be exactly what he was, what they thought he would be. Michael Jordan drafted him. He didn't want to draft him. The owner made him draft him, cut and dry. Michael Jordan disrespected him. That's the way it was said, that he didn't treat him the way he should have been treated, didn't groom him or none of that kind of stuff. I don't know the full story. This is what we hear. But we all know that if this man was a number one draft pick, the potential was there. He didn't pan out to be what they thought he should have been or what they thought he would be, but he lasted 13 years. So does that say more about Kwame Brown's game, or does it say more about the owners who kept signing him to contracts for him to make $63 million over 13 years? So who's the scrub, or who is the bust in this? Is it the player, or is it the owners who continue to dole out the money? You be the judge. I'm just putting it out there. Because if I'm still getting paid $20 million, 5, 8, 6, 7, 12, whatever $1 million a year by an owner, who are you to tell me that I'm a bust or a scrub because you don't think I can play? He paying me. I can sit at the end of the bench, but I'm getting paid. Now with Stephen Jackson and Matt Barnes, this is where it comes into play with me. You call him a scrub, you call him a bust, but y'all were role players on the teams you were on. What does that make you? There's jealousy and envy somewhere in here where, because he was the number one pick and they were picked so low or weren't even thought about when they got drafted or whatever, you got to weigh it. They may have had better long-term careers, but they were all in the NBA, where there's only 450 players per year. And this disrespect about who, what, when, where, and why, as far as you're a scrub, you're a bust, you were picked number one, but you didn't pan out and all this kind of stuff. Come on, people. It ain't that serious. It's not that serious. But then when you get on the TV for shock value to continue to talk about this man to prove your point or make a point that you want to make, come on. I say that because we all are accountable for our actions. We're all accountable when we disrespect or when we're disrespectful or being disrespected. Deal with people on the level you want to be dealt with. Throwing popcorn, spitting at people, talking down on people, all that kind of stuff. Come on. Come on. That's what kids do. And what do we do with kids? We hold them accountable. Most time you go home, somebody tell you, be talking about somebody, your parents they handle their business. Go get my belt. Go get my belt. But I see this and I'm watching it play out, and it doesn't sit well with me. Because at the end of the day, these are successful. Let me just put it in this way. These are successful Black men in their craft. But they're jockeying for position of, I'm going to talk about you because I have the microphone. I'm going to call you what I want because I have the microphone. But at the same time, when I was on the team with you, I called you my brother. Which one is it? Choose wisely. Because now that he's striking back, you have an issue with it. Now that he's speaking his mind, you have an issue with it. But for the 13 years, Stephen A. Smith talked about this young man who was 17 years old, coming from Brunswick, Georgia, who at one time didn't even have shoes because he wore size 13 and had to walk around barefoot. They talked about this young man to the manner of he just got quiet. He never said anything, but he's sure speaking now. Y'all brought this on yourself. Just saying. You brought it on yourself. Stop disrespecting people. Treat people as you want to be treated. All right, mind, body, and soul. Mind, body, and soul. Year 2021, self-love, taking care of yourself one day at a time. That's where we're at in 2021. Excuse me. And today's quote is, I got three of them wrote down here, and I'm trying to decipher which one, because I just write them down. I don't pre-practice these, so give me a minute. Here we go. Don't let the opinions of others consume you. Don't let the opinion of others consume you. Last week we talked about the journey. Where you been, where you at, where you going. The three aspects of the journey. But then there was aspects of that journey. You're going to come across people who have an opinion about you, who you are, what you do, what you're about, how you look, all the plethora of things you can think about when people have and voice their opinion about you. But you can't get caught up in that. It's like I said, I think a couple shows ago, it's not what they call you, it's what you answer to. See, sometimes we let people's opinions dictate how we move, how we carry ourselves, who we deal with, what we do with our lives, because we're so consumed with how others see us that we're not truly being ourselves. We get so consumed in the opinions of the people that we call friends. Let me say that again. We get so consumed in the opinions of the people we call friends that there are friends under conditions. And the condition is, as long as they ain't talking about me like they talking about him, I'm still going to keep them close to me because I don't need them talking about me that way. But if you go along, get along crew, as Kwame Brown say, then you're just as guilty. Go along to get along. Opinions of people about you. Should you listen? It's not the fact of whether you listen or not. You're going to hear it. You're going to hear what people think about you. Hell, some people tell you straight to your face. But do their opinions, and are their opinions, who you are? You know yourself better than those opinions of the people who don't know you, and even the ones that do think they know you. But when we get consumed because someone feels this way about us, or they talk about us, or they said this about us, and anything like that, I would tell you this, and this is something that I had to learn growing up, because there was not growing up, but as I've grown, there's something in us that when we hear people talk about us and things like that, what we want to do is change the narrative, or what we want to do is prove them wrong. And what we do by trying to prove them wrong is we come out of character of who we are to not fit the narrative of whatever they said we are. Stop. You know you better than they do. You know who you are to your core. You don't have to prove anything to anybody. Opinions are just that. Opinions. And if you let those opinions consume you and take over your mindset and dictate how you function on a regular, everyday basis, then they have taken you from being you to becoming who you think they want you to be. But always remember this, and this was a hard lesson for me to learn. No matter what people think about you, no matter how people view you, You are still accountable for what you do in this life. You are still accountable for your actions in your everyday walk. You are still accountable to you, nobody else. So when those opinions come at you, or somebody comes and tell you, well, they said this and they said that, listen to it and let it go. Because if you hold on to it, you start getting that undertones of resentment towards people. You start getting angry. You carry yourself in a different way of not being who you are. Don't worry about them people. Do not worry about them. Like the old folks you said, they talked about Jesus. They talked about Jesus, baby. They're going to talk about, if they talk about Jesus, why you think they ain't going to talk about you? You have to get to a point in your life where you're comfortable in your own skin. And know that the people that talk about you, the people that have something to say about you, the people who have their opinions about you and who you are as a whole are just opinions. You wake up every day and look in that mirror, you know who you are. You know what you stand on. You know what you're about. Don't let it consume you. If there's things that's being said about you that need adjustment, then make the adjustment. But don't change who you are just because of the opinions of others. It's amazing when you sit back and you listen to how people talk about each other who call themselves friends or family. And you listen to the words that come out of their mouths as far as they don't do this, or this person's this way, or that person's that way, or this, all the things you can think of that happen in conversation about probably you or conversations you've been involved in talking about somebody else. We're quick to tear down, but hesitant to build up. We are quick to tear down, but become hesitant when it's time to build up. Keep your opinions to yourself. Keep your opinions to yourself. Everybody don't need to know your opinion. Everybody don't need to, don't need your opinion to feel validated. Don't let the opinions of others consume you. Because what happens is you start taking that negativity into your own brain. And then you start minimizing who you are because of who they say you are. Stay above the fray. Don't let them get to you. Don't let those opinions wear you down. Keep on keeping on. To wrap up, let's get this thing over with. Memorial Day weekend, y'all. Memorial Day weekend. I know some of y'all gonna have your burgers, your hot dogs, your steaks, your hot links, all that stuff on the grill. Be careful this weekend, y'all. Be careful. It's a lot of people gonna be out moving around, doing things because they've been in that lockdown per se. Everything's opening up. Slow down. Pump your brakes. Ease back into this thing. Don't just go run. Ease back into this thing, because there's a lot of people out here that don't have your best interests at hand. You're going to go places. People ain't going to have masks on. People going to be doing this. People going to let's ease into this thing and take care of you. Protect yourself and protect your family. Watch the kids on the bikes. Watch the motorcycle riders. If you have a pool, make sure people are being supervised while they're at the pool. 101 critical days of summer. That's where we're at. Runs from Memorial Day weekend all the way through to Labor Day. You got 4th of July coming up with the fireworks and everything. Be careful. That's all I say is be careful. Look out for one another and just make this holiday weekend that we're coming out of a safe one. Take care of each other and recognize those who gave the ultimate sacrifice for this country. Don't thank a veteran. As I said in the beginning, don't thank a veteran. Make sure you have that differentiation between Veterans Day and Memorial Day. That's all I'm saying. As I always say before I sign off, love yourself, love one another, keep your head up, and most definitely keep your faith in God. And I'll see y'all next week. And somebody save me a hot link. I need one. It's been a long time. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. And I'll see y'all again next week. Holla at your boy. Peace.